It's been a rough 3 weeks since March 8th when I heard of Toriyama Sensei's passing. I've been silent as I still have been struggling to process what's happened. I'm so just short of words. I'm really struggling to accept that Toriyama Sensei is not with us anymore. It's just the worst news, and I feel like in me a hole of sadness has been created, which is slowly healing and getting through it, but honestly this has just been devastating. I honestly thought it was going to be another 10 years until we'd have to face this. Toriyama is in his almost prime of older age, dying at 68 is just so early. And the thing was that it's just so ironic that he's ended up dying in the 40th anniversary of Dragon Ball, the Year of the Dragon. And it was when he was having such a renaissance of passion for Dragon Ball, working on all kinds of projects including Daima and future storylines and all these things, and it's just so sad that he's passed away when he was getting back to his best, in my opinion. His enthusiasm, his enjoyment and energy for Dragon Ball and producing future content. For me, most of my earliest memories in life are regarding Dragon Ball. So I used to wake up before school around at 5 years old at 6:45 in the morning, and I would, this is back in Australia where I am now, and I'd wake up, I'd go downstairs, turn the TV on, and there at 7 o'clock on Cheese TV was Dragon Ball Z, the Frieza saga. I remember very vividly. And I was just obsessed. I'd always ask my parents for Dragon Ball related gifts, and they'd buy me figures, and I was always hassling my dad to take me down to the local petrol station, where I would ask him to buy these potato chip snacks called Tazos, and in there would be collectible cards and little discs with Dragon Ball characters on them, and it was just so fun, and it had that power level on it, and you'd be like, oh, Cell's got a power level of whatever, and there's Frieza, he's got a power level of blah blah, and Gallic Jr. and all that. And they were just starting to get the Buu saga as well. So these are my earliest memories in life, and so Toriyama Sensei's death actually feels like part of my childhood has now been ripped away from me. Dragon Ball has always given me an excitement, even when I was growing up as a boy and a teenager. It gave me that drive and that push to be the best that I could, and to do all kinds of new things and to strive for the best in life. And these are the attitudes that I picked up from Goku and Vegeta, and even now as an adult I'm still inspired by the character and their determination of who they are. And to think that the one who created Dragon Ball, the one who developed all the characters, the story, the artwork is now gone, is just really hard to face. It feels like a part of me has, just left, and it's really sad. Although we didn't know very much about Toriyama because he wasn't a man who wanted to be in the spotlight or have a lot of fame, he was a very private man, he actually communicated with us fans by putting his own ideologies, his own messages in the stories through the characters, and that's how we came to know him. I feel that Dragon Ball has amazing takeaways for my own personal development, and that's why I feel ownership for it. And without Toriyama, I would never have started this channel, because he gave me such a sense of initially identity, although now, as you guys probably know, I'm a Christian and my identity is in Jesus. But in my early years, Dragon Ball was my obsession, everything. Now I still love Dragon Ball, but it's not my number one thing. But what I'm trying to say is that Toriyama wanted to bring us into the story and to bring us to a place as fans of owning it for ourselves. And I think people around the globe can resonate with it, and you guys probably feel that you're some way having ownership for the show and you have a special place in your heart for Dragon Ball. So let me know down in the comments how you feel about all that's happened, and whether you resonate with anything I'm saying about your ownership, your feeling for ownership of the show, and also how you feel in your heart. The other thing I've been thinking about is also Toriyama's family, because it's a big shock for them, him dying at 68, because that is way lower than the national average in Japan of life expectancy, which is 84 years old. So he died, almost 20 years sooner than he maybe could have done. And sadly, we found out this is mainly probably due to his smoking habit, which he did as a lifestyle for so many years. And it was revealed that he actually did have a brain tumor recently, and complications from that caused his death. So fortunately, it was probably a quick death, which means he probably wasn't in pain, but may his soul now rest in peace. Another feeling I have is remorse for where I've criticized Toriyama in the past. I know all of us, we get a bit frustrated sometimes at inconsistencies or things maybe he forgot or left out of the story, or things he left out to then explain a long time later or fill in. But I actually feel remorse for being so critical of Toriyama, because honestly he was just trying to do his best, and he was writing that manga every week for years and years, like almost like 20 years or something like that. And honestly, the passion, the energy you put into it, no wonder your brain would just forget a few details here and there, considering that his focus wasn't necessarily always on the most coherent and amazing story ever. It was more so about the comical side of things, and he always delivered on that front. Like, he always made lots of gags and made these super powerful things so just funny and made fun of them constantly. That came from my feeling of ownership for Dragon Ball, but in the end I had little right in my heart to criticize him, because at the end of the day, Toriyama, he is the creator of Dragon Ball. He can do whatever he wants with the story, and we need to, even if we have frustration at the start, initial reaction to what he's written or what will be written going forward, we need to get to the place of accepting it and then actually treasuring it. So Toriyama's passing has actually given me a new focus and hopefully concentration on actually supporting his work in reading the manga, making videos, watching any future anime projects they make. Sadly, I don't play video games. It just doesn't work for me. I get too involved and it can take over. But I can support in the ways I've stated, and you guys, please continue to support Toriyama's work. We do owe that to him. And in the past week, what's really helped me is that I've been comforted by the words of Jesus in Matthew 5 verse 4, where he said that blessed are those who mourn. We're in mourning for Toriyama right now. And Jesus said that for they will be comforted. So I've been feeling more peace and acceptance of what's been happening. And over time, I'll be okay. Ever since the shocking news of Toriyama Sensei's passing, I've actually been quite concerned about Dragon Ball. And that comes from probably me overthinking and catastrophizing a bit. But Toei and Shueisha, they haven't had always the best thing going with Dragon Ball even in the last 8 years, because ever since Dragon Ball was the gateway manga for the West, there's been so many other mangas and animes that have come out since the 80s and the 90s, and there's been a real explosion. So other series like One Piece, Naruto, Boruto, One Punch Man, that's the other one I was going to say, they've overtaken Dragon Ball at times in popularity, and so Toei, Shueisha, they want to focus more on those series. And the thing about that is that Dragon Ball can get pushed to the side at times. We've been waiting years for the Super anime to return. The manga's now 3 arcs ahead. That's quite a decent gap. And the manga would keep going and the anime still wouldn't be able to catch up to it, which is a healthy thing, because the manga should lead the anime. It shouldn't be the opposite way around, which was happening for a long time with Super. And I just think the frustrating thing is that with these big corporations, that I feel like Dragon Ball has a greater worldwide audience than other series. And I may be ignorant with the numbers, but honestly, whenever I talk to people, they know more about Dragon Ball than they know about other animes. They might have seen other ones, but Dragon Ball's got that special place in their heart. And so it's why don't these companies focus more on Dragon Ball, and actually it'll be a win-win. They'll get a lot of money, we'll get a lot of content, we'll be happy, they'll be happy. So whilst Toriyama's ideologies and principles carry on, we're left without the captain. The captain is no more. And we as the crew members are in a state of confusion, and we're worried about who's going to lead the crew, who's going to take over, what is the future. It must be someone who truly understands Toriyama's vision, and we can only hope that the prominent figures who are out there right now, like Toyotaro, who draws the manga, and Akio Ioku, who's pledging to do Dragon Ball content for the next 10 years, will live up to this vision. We know from Toriyama's official statement, which is the last words he gave us in December 23, which by the way wasn't even released because he was going to receive this award and it was going to be his speech. He said that he had a lot of decent content planned for the future. And I'm just hoping that now that Toriyama's gone, that Toyotaro has enough self-confidence and self-drive and enthusiasm for Dragon Ball that he keeps going on his own and he accepts the new mantle of leading in terms of writing. He could be the lead writer. Maybe there's a team that write the stories and they put it past each other and edit it properly and review it, and then he draws it. So from how Toyotaro has been faithful for so many years now drawing the manga, I think the manga will likely continue, but for now it is on a hiatus. Viz Media and Manga Plus, they don't have any date for when the next chapter will be released. So at the moment that does actually worry us, but hey, we had a 4-month break before last year with the manga, so if they did 4 or 5 months this year, even though Toriyama is gone now, we do have some encouragement that actually Dragon Ball has continued without him before. Think about Dragon Ball GT. Toriyama just did the concept artworks for that and some other little bits, but then they made the whole show without him. So it's possible that Dragon Ball will continue without Toriyama. And also, he put in a lot of effort before he died for future Dragon Ball projects, so at least we've got that for him to build on. And I'm only talking about the manga because Toriyama admitted recently that he didn't even watch hardly any of Dragon Ball Z's anime, and he only watched that little bit of Super at the start just to see how it was going, and he was horrified initially at the animation and the artwork, and that's when he stepped in and said, guys, this is a shambles, you really need to sort this out, like to Toei. And they did sort it out a lot better than it was. I'm just happy that at this time Toyotaro and Akio Ioku have been quite public and they've been talking about what they're going to be doing in Dragon Ball. And I feel like they owe this to Toriyama because Toriyama actually asked us as the fans to continue supporting his work, and this was just months before he died. It was one of his last words to us. And I think it's fantastic that Ioku is keen to go global with Dragon Ball content. He's just recently set up a new company called Capsule Corporation. He's separated himself from Shueisha. And the Dragon Ball Room, I think, is still going, but he's trying to bring some staff from there over to this new Capsule Corporation. It's just brilliant that he's using the name that Toriyama developed in the show. It's just brilliant. And he's promised to bring us content of Dragon Ball for the next 10 years. That's brilliant. And they actually have the rights to the anime and also the video games. So Capsule Corporation, this new company, has a fair amount of rights. Now, unfortunately, they don't have the rights to the manga. That still remains with Shueisha, and I don't think they'll part with that. But considering that Toyotaro is writing the manga, and that's for Shueisha, I'm just hoping that there's not some kind of legislation that hinders them from working together. I'm hoping that the relationship will continue, and whoever's writing the story, be it Toyotaro or Ioku, I'm hoping that they can share the stories across and there's no barriers in the way. Because whatever's in the manga, we do want it to be made into the anime. Due to all these complications of legalities and corporations, I understand that fans have been frustrated over the last numbers of years with the lack of Dragon Ball content compared to other mangas, animes. And so I understand why fans have made their own series on YouTube, they've drawn mangas on various websites, and there's been a real explosion in the last 4 or 5 years of this. And it's actually got to the point where it's so convoluted and there's just so many mangas and animes out there that you just don't know which one to look at or stick with. But I do actually have a problem with this in that it has brought division and distraction away from the main canon with fans, and also a continued disinterest, because the canon is not giving what fans want in terms of transformations, power-ups, crazy villains, and weird and wonderful things going on in terms of storylines, and that's great. Like, I would love to see really unique storylines happen rather than the same repetitive formula we get in Dragon Ball. But the only thing is that it does create disloyalty from the actual content that we get. And the problem is that the less we as fans support the official canon, the less it is likely that we may get the content in the future. So I think that we do need to be careful there, and we do need to continue supporting the actual canon. And one relief as well is that fortunately Masako Nozawa, the voice of Goku in Japan, she has pledged to continue voicing Dragon Ball and Goku as long as she can, and that's actually what Toriyama asked her to do as well. And just lastly, the next definite piece of Dragon Ball content, apart from Sparking Zero, the video game, is we are definitely getting Dragon Ball Daima later this year. It has not been cancelled. I know I put that in the title, but that was a question, and I was going to give you the relieving answer that no, it has not been cancelled. It's still going ahead, and actually, it's become more confirmed than it was before, because now they're saying that they're actually going to air it on Fuji TV and Crunchyroll later this year, and we did not have that announcement until after Toriyama died. And Toriyama actually really endorses Daima, and that's a good thing, because rarely does he endorse something that isn't good in terms of Dragon Ball. So apparently he wasn't meant to be that involved with Daima. Like with GT, he was just supposed to do, some artworks and custom concepts, artworks of characters and the little bits here and there. But he ended up getting so enthusiastic that he ended up getting really involved, and he started writing things for the show, the actual stories, and he got really involved in all that. So he's actually really proud of what was created with Daima. So in conclusion, guys, it's so relieving to know that Dragon Ball is not cancelled forever. We have got Dragon Ball Daima, the new series on the way, the new anime, and we've got the Sparking Zero video game. I know you guys are so excited about that, and it's just relieving to know that we can continue to support Toriyama's work, even though he's sadly passed on. And we're not going to be left in the dark. This is not the end of Dragon Ball. It's a new beginning. And let us support his work just as Toriyama asked us to do. Thanks guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks! Kai Kai!